Okay, so as long as you have a few charms, hopefully a significator and a table, a surface, then you can throw. Recommended, of course, as I said earlier, is a cloth, because trust me, on a table they will go everywhere. If you don't have a cloth, you can do it on a rug, on a carpet, anything with a little bit of friction. Now, that was a very loose and free casting that I did, but you can also start to specify the area. And there are a number of ways of doing this. So one of the most simplest, I want to show you this first because I want to show you just how simple you can make it for yourself. It's a sheet of paper. Draw yourself a circle and split it up into as many segments as you like. If you're going to do a lot of segments, you might want to make the circle as large as the paper will take. So in this case, I've done 4 segments and I've written some keywords. So here I've got love, health, home, and success. You could write people's names. You could write yes, no, maybe, wrong question. You could write past, future, potential, hidden, very much like you might do if you think. If you do pendulums and you use sheets, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So you could use your pendulum sheets. So if you do pendulum and you've never done casting, just go ahead and use those sheets. But if it's something between pendulum sheets and tarot spreads in a way, it doesn't have to be a circle. You could do squares. A circle just works nicely, I think, for casting. Okay, so write whatever you like. You could put people's names in there. You could put days of the week, anything at all that you want. Now, unlike pendulum, this is what makes it different, is that you do have very specific, pendulum is going towards things where the charms have meanings. Okay, so something like love, health, home, success, that's very broad. If you're asking a very specific question, you'll have work keywords that make sense to you. Okay, so very similar to how I cast earlier. I think of my question and choose my charms. And then I cast again the same way. And with a little bit of friction, you can see it's contained pretty much in the paper. So I decide now, or before I start, I decide how I read this circle or this specified area. I might decide that everything outside of the circle, remember, be creative, and this is completely of your own doing. I might decide that everything outside the circle doesn't count, so I can get rid of that. On the other hand, perhaps I might decide that things outside of my specified area are things that are difficult to attain or in the very, very distant future. You see, you can just make it up. So I have, is it all in screen? So I have a few things outside of my circle. I'm going to decide that I'm just going to discard them and read what's in the circle. Okay, so in love, is actually straddling love and health. I've got the little Buddha. Now, you know, when you first start, it's a bit like with tarot. You just want to keep things simple. You don't want to do reversals yet. You just want to start off, if that's helpful for you. So maybe I just want to read the Buddha as is without thinking reversals, okay? So what does the Buddha signify for you? Is it about peace? Is it about inner peace? Is it about enlightenment? Or is it just about being still, being present? So it might be about being really present with love. Perhaps you're running about with lots of other things going on and you're not sitting and being present with it. Perhaps you're trying to push and shove and make love, romantic love, happen, and this is more about being open and being accepting and with it. Then we've got here the witch in the health. Manifesting your own health. We've got here the birdcage. What does that mean for you? Is this something that is lost? So is something going on there with your health? And the witch was over this, so she needs to get this back. Maybe this is about some freedom and letting go and stop being so restrictive with yourself. You know, she's also on a broomstick, so maybe this is the look. I just realized that I don't think I ever get these together, but just imagine her flying out. So it's time to break free from this restrictive dieting you're doing, perhaps, you know, and it's connected to your home. There's a little bit of freedom or feeling caged that has happened in your home. So here we have a little book. It's called A True Story, and this is for the stories we tell ourselves. So what story are you telling yourself about your success? This is Libra, which actually I'm a Libra, so that's interesting. But what does that mean? Is that, am I not being balanced? Am I not putting the right logical, I mean, it depends what Libra is. Is this the star sign, or what does that mean? What narrative am I telling myself? And I can be more intuitive, and I can say, well, this is something I need to research. I need to research something, look things up, to have this part of my life, this success, whether it's my business or whatever, my creativity, whatever it might be, to make it work. Okay, so you can see how that works in the specified area. If you threw in a significator, you can, of course, read how you do a freed reading and see what's touching, the significator. But you can also see what is actually of most concern, or of where you should be putting so let's say she landed somewhere here in health. So never mind all this. You need to focus on your health first. That sort of thing, Or this is what you're really worried about, really thinking about. Never mind all that. So it's up to you, however you want to interpret it. So when it comes to a sheet, you can have grids, you can have squares, you can have circle with segments on there. I've also used my birth chart. So if you can print out your birth chart nice and big, because it's got 12 segments, you can see like a year ahead sort of reading. You can have a drawn circle. You can have a cutout circle or shape. I mean, literally, you could just use this square bit of paper, perhaps something smaller, but you could use this, cast, and then only what is in this rectangular piece would you read. Look how they came out. I have a watercolor full moon, which I use as my specified space when I don't want to create specific segments. And then I would read what lands inside. I might discard, again, it could be in the future, or discard them, up to you. Perhaps I might read the center as the most significant. What is closer to the center is most significant. What is closer to the edges is less significant. What is closer to the center is more the present and moving into the future. All that you can decide. Another area to use is a box. So if your charms are in a box, I would say a tip for using box storage is that they too, especially little ones, do tend to congregate in the corners. So it needs to be shuffled, mixed very well. Sometimes what I do is shake the box. Okay. Other times I just get right in there into the corners and make sure everything has been mixed well. With a bag, I feel it's easier to mix, but you can still get things, especially if you have a lot. You could still get a lot of charms weighing down at the bottom. So it's always good to have a really good mix, just how you would give, a really, really good shuffle. If you're using a deck, often enough, you want to make sure it's all mixed up and you're getting the right cards, rather than not just a card by default because it's at the top or whatever. So I love using my little box. So as you can see, the edges create the specified area. Nothing goes flying, so that's really great. It's very neat, especially if I'm happy with just a few charms, which is what I often do. It's a very small handful. This is about roughly the amount of charms that I would use on a very common quick question. Now, this is the other thing about, so you have the specified area where everything's emanating from the middle, you know, your segments, but you can also have edges. Now, edges can be past, present, potential, hidden, whatever you want. You can decide yes, no, yeah, you can see that. You can also do the edges, so you have 4 edges, mean one thing, and the corners might mean something else, being in the corner. See how creative you can be with it? So I won't tell you what I use, but so I have my meanings in here and what they mean. So I don't really need the significator in this because I've got so much meaning within this, but it does add another dimension to it, obviously. So I tend to like to put the significator, but not always. Sometimes I'll just grab some and throw some in and see what that gives me. Another way you can make a specified area is also with a piece of string. You can make a circle, which I've often done that as well. Just get a piece of string, and you can decide inner and outer and that sort of thing. So in the side of the circle might mean something, outside the circle might mean nothing and discard, or might mean something else. It might be yeses inside and no's on the outside. You know, so many possibilities. So one of my other ways of using charms is with tarot.